Dogs love us in ways we don't always deserve, and the things that make them happiest are often the ones we take for granted. When you slow down enough to really watch them, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Their joy isn't loud. It's steady, patient, and full of meaning. And buried inside that joy are a few things they cherish more deeply than most people imagine. I'm going to share one of those quietly powerful favorites soon, and it may stay with you for a while. If you want more moments like this, you're welcome to join me by liking and subscribing. Chapter 1. Your happiness. It's strange how a dog can sense your mood before you've even said a word. They watch your face the way someone reads a familiar book, picking up on tiny shifts you barely notice in yourself. Your voice gives you away too, carrying a warmth or a tension that tells them everything they need to know. Even your scent changes with emotion, and your dog responds to it with a kind of quiet understanding that feels almost human. And when you're genuinely happy, their whole body seems to breathe easier, as if your joy settles something inside them. And once you notice that pattern, you start seeing another one. Chapter 2. Your scent. Picture your dog pausing mid-step when they catch your scent, as if the world suddenly becomes a little safer. There's something tender in the way they inhale, slow and deliberate, like they're grounding themselves in the one thing that never confuses them. Your smell carries a story to them: comfort, familiarity, and the quiet promise that they belong somewhere. Even when you're not home, a shirt on the floor or a blanket on the couch feels like a stand-in for you, easing the little worries they don't know how to show. It's why they curl into your laundry with that heavy, contented sigh, letting your scent soften the edges of their day. And honestly, that's the manageable version of the need they're trying to fill. Chapter 3. Music. People like to assume dogs don't really care about music, but that idea falls apart the moment you watch them listen. You can see it in the way their ears shift, not just to sound, but to tone, tempo, and mood, almost as if they're trying to decide how the world feels. Soft melodies seem to loosen something in them, letting their bodies settle into a calmer rhythm. But when the music turns sharp or frantic, their energy changes too, rising in a way that feels more like self-protection than excitement. It's why a gentle song during a storm can steady them in ways words can't, giving their nervous system something quieter to follow. On its own, it's nothing. Stacked over time, it becomes the way they understand the world outside your door. Chapter 4. Checking the news. So if music helps them make sense of the world from inside your home, what do they rely on once their paws hit the ground? The moment your dog steps outside, you can feel their whole attention shift, like they've entered a different kind of conversation you can't quite hear. Every sniff is a quiet exchange, a way of gathering stories about the dogs who passed by, how they were feeling, and what they wanted others to know. You might see it as wandering or dawdling, but to them, it's information identity, status, reassurance, and sometimes a little warning wrapped into a few scattered scents. And when they pause to leave a mark of their own, it's less about claiming space and more about reminding the world that they're here too, part of this invisible dialogue written on grass and tree trunks. Which would be fine if it didn't lead to this. Chapter 5. Learning new tricks. Most people assume teaching a dog something new is just about obedience, but it's actually a doorway into their mind. When your dog is learning, you can almost feel their focus stretching toward you, eager, hopeful, trying to connect the dots in a way that makes sense to both of you. There's a softness in that moment, a shared patience, where the world gets quiet enough for them to feel proud of themselves. As their brain works, tiny pathways wake up, giving them the same spark of accomplishment you feel when you finally understand something that once felt out of reach. And when you praise them, you're not just rewarding behavior, you're strengthening a bond that keeps their mind alive and their heart steady. That sounds comforting, and it is, but it's also where things usually go wrong. Chapter 6. Staring out the window. It's easy to think your dog is just killing time at the window, but that stillness is doing far more for them than most people realize. There's a kind of quiet intensity in the way they watch the world slide by, tracking every shifting shadow and passing shape, as if each one adds a new piece to a puzzle they've been studying for years. For a dog, the window becomes a second mind, a place where their curiosity can stretch without needing to chase or bark or earn anything from you. But that same curiosity can harden into frustration when the world outside feels too close, too loud, or too unreachable, leaving them stirred up in a way that looks like energy but is really tension. It helps when you pay attention to how their body responds, noticing the difference between peaceful watching and the kind of alertness that wears them down. And once you see that difference, you can't help but notice another habit that's been quietly shaping their comfort for a long time. Chapter 7. Making their bed. You've probably seen your dog circle their bed like they're preparing for something important. And in a way, they are. There's an old instinct tucked inside that little ritual, a need to shape the world into something safe before they allow themselves to relax. Each turn, each scratch, each gentle press of their paws is their way of asking the space to hold them, almost like smoothing the wrinkles out of a feeling rather than a blanket. They're checking for comfort, for security, for the quiet reassurance that this spot can carry the weight they don't show in any other part of their day. And when they finally settle, curling in with that soft exhale, it's because the moment feels earned, not accidental, which makes the next joy in their life feel even more revealing. Chapter 8. Water play. You can tell a lot about a dog by the way they approach water, and that first splash often says everything. Some dogs move toward it with a kind of fearless delight, as if the surface itself is calling them back to a joy they didn't know they were allowed to feel. Others ease in slowly, letting the coolness wrap around them until their bodies loosen and they start to trust the moment. Water has a way of supporting them without asking for anything in return, letting their joints float, their muscles soften, and their minds settle into a rhythm that feels both playful and freeing. Even the simpler moments, chasing droplets from a hose or snapping at the arc of a sprinkler, light up something instinctive in them, a blend of curiosity and confidence that feels almost like childhood. And it's in those soaked, unguarded seconds that you see just how deeply they rely on you to keep their joy safe. By now, you can almost feel how every small joy in your dog's life circles back to the trust they place in you. And the way you've been trying, learning, or even just paying attention already tells them they're loved in a language they understand. The real beauty is that their happiness isn't built on perfection, but on the steady presence you bring into their world. Letting yourself slow down enough to notice these things turns everyday moments into something gentler and more meaningful. And once you see your dog this clearly, it becomes easier to recognize the signs they show only when life feels right to them. These are the quiet habits of a dog who feels safe, content, and deeply at home. If you want to keep discovering those signs together, the next video will meet you right where you are.